Hello friends, LK here playing around at Jaws, a game I've always maintained is one of the easiest NES games of all time.
It's true.
Got a comment recently on my old Jaws playthrough from 2013 from a user who writes, "Ha, no challenge? Have you ever ventured on the corners of the map rather than the easy zones?"
Is that a challenge?
And honestly, I got to thinking about it, and you know what? I don't think I have. In all the years I've played this game, I don't think I ever really cared about exploring the map, beyond going back and forth between the two harbors and picking up that mini-sub when it shows up on the map. So, challenge accepted, my friend. I've done all the prep work and powered up to level 9, and I've gotten the mini-sub, which will ensure the game's gonna throw everything it's got at me in these underwater sequences. But this is particularly bad news for Jaws, as the commenter here, who I'll refer to as Mr. X, has put him on the endangered species list once again, because in this game, I don't leave this ocean empty-handed. But I am curious about what exactly is lurking out here in the corners of the map. Sounds like something that could make this game a bit more challenging, so with that in mind, let's get started. Alright. And right away there's the typical activity that you normally see when you get powered up to this level. You will generally see much more activity out of the jellyfish and smaller sharks, and you'll still see the occasional stingrays here and there, but for the most part you've got to duck and dodge the jellyfish, which are kind of bouncing around in your general direction, kind of like they're drunk, and the smaller sharks, who actually act like they're more offended about us being here, more so than Jaws is. A lot of times they will attack in swarms, or I guess I should say schools. Alright, well, we did get some kind of a glitchy mess over there on the edge of the map. So far, I'm still kind of waiting to see what the corners of the map are going to offer. You know, and I'm not trying to be facetious and coy. I mean, I know what the guy's getting at. He's probably referring to the parts that are more shallow. Therefore, you've got a lot less room to maneuver, and there's more enemies coming your way, and makes it to where you've got to work harder to keep yourself from getting touched. I imagine that's what he's referring to, but since he did specifically say corners, that's what I'm going to be targeting here first. I've reached the point of the game where the shells are basically meaningless. I mean, we can get strobe after strobe if we want at this point, but not needed. So I'm just going to sit and wait. I've got another corner here. And again, we do have a bit of a graphical mess off to the right side. That's the one thing, direct result I've seen hanging out on the far top right corner of the map. But sure, that's just a game glitch. And just waiting for the big guy to drop what he's doing and realize he's got a job to do. He's supposed to be menacing this boat and trying to eat me, the diver. Looks like he took the long way around there. This poses an interesting situation, though. I'm actually going to have to go out of my way and try not to kill Jaws while I explore the corners of the map here and kind of see what new things it may throw at us. But at power level 9, I'm sure inevitably I will deplete his life meter. And when we get raised up on the final scene, I'll just strobe him up out of the water and have his life bar reset so that we get right back here. Alright, well, let's head down here. This could be considered kind of a corner, right? Although we're still in the deep end. We've got stingrays who obviously finally gotten the memo. The diver's still out here screwing around. All underwater creatures are treated as enemies in this game because they can all hurt you in some way. Whoops. Now I've done it. Yeah, I'll just raise them out, deplete the strobes, and back to the map we go. So, let's see where else we can get to. Here's another corner. And interestingly, we're still in the deep end. I figured this would have taken us to a shallow part of the map, but this is what the game's given us, so I will play through it. Oh, I love the mini-sub in this game. Takes the enjoyment to a whole new level. Not having to be the diver, it's got much better maneuverability. Got these little torpedoes and these little cannonballs or depth charges, whatever they are. And what's funny is I probably said the same thing in my playthrough over 10 years ago, and I still haven't bothered to look it up. For now, we'll just call them the little black balls. And where'd he come from? Ah, now we've got a shallow end. Well, Mr. X, is this what you were talking about? Would this classify as the non-easy zone that you referenced in your comment? I imagine this is probably what he was referring to. The downside is I've got Jaws depleted again, so it's not going to take much more. It's going to be hard to... Yep. Got a full power bar. And once again, we're still kind of in the deep end here, but we are getting, looks like, increased activity from these drunk jellyfish. So, this looks to be the only enemies we have to worry about besides him on this underwater round. So we definitely want to keep off the ocean floor as much as possible. Let's see, where else can we go? Does this qualify as a corner? Nah, we're being attacked. We have much sharkage. So, shouts out to Mr. X, by the way, for the comment. I didn't approach this project with a sarcastic frame of mind, not trying to be a smartass here and saying, I wonder what we're going to find. I'm actually legitimately curious because I've not really focused on these areas of the map before. And the guy sure sounds like he knows what he's talking about. We're going to meet something out here. And the bonus rounds, although they're helpful when you're trying to build your collection of shells, they do start to get quite repetitive to the point where when I get this thing to post, I will probably edit a lot of those sequences out moving forward just because they start to run a little long. And I imagine as a gamer, if they get a bit annoying or a bit of a chore to play through as the viewer, I imagine that feeling's only amplified, so I may go ahead and cut those out once I get done here. And once again, the irony here, the smaller sharks, like I said a few minutes ago, they seem to take stronger exception to us being down here than Jaws does. He's just kind of hanging out, like kind of gradually working his way toward me, but nothing overly threatening. While we're here, screw it. Here's what happens when you're power level 9 and you go to one of these harbors. You burn 10 shells to gain an extra strobe. Alright. Back in the Badlands, my man. Here's a shallow end. And again, at this stage in the game where you're kind of late and you're powered up and you've got a lot of points put away, the challenge does ramp up significantly as far as the activity of the enemies, but nothing that you can't handle in this mini-sub. The main thing you want to keep in mind is just not to get too careless with your movements, because it is easy to accidentally run into something, and one hit's all it takes to lose that sub. And it turns up on the map again like several thousand points later, whichever intervals that it goes by. So you can see it again after you lose it, but I'm going to try to avoid that here. And right now we're just kind of touring around the map, checking the corners and seeing what kind of trouble we can get into. I guess this, I don't know if it qualifies or not, but it is a shallow end. Fishy J's got full power this time, so maybe we can get through this entire round without accidentally killing him. And it's also worth pointing out that, I've never tried to sound obnoxious or arrogant about it when I say that this is a really easy game. Just sharing, my personal experiences with it over the years. I go back to when I was a kid playing it, and still even then I never found it overly challenging, especially once I figured out what to do. Once you get your power level raised up to, say, number 3, you can go ahead and go for the kill pretty comfortably at that point. Biggest challenge is just avoiding all the extra enemies that the game throws at you as you progress and start to power up. And we're just chilling. We kind of parallel parked here in this little bay area, waiting the man, the myth, the legend. Anytime now. Guess he had to stop off and get a sandwich on his way up here. We'll wait it out. Sometimes he definitely seems to take the long way around. Where he bumped us before and where we are now. It's really not a long track by any means, but that's one thing about the coding in the game. We finally see him pop up here, but I'm not really sure up to this point what his swimming pattern is like. I don't know if anybody's ever hacked the game to where you can actually make him visible to see exactly how he maneuvers, like with the coding and whatnot. I'm not really sure what his swimming pattern's like. But I do know that from point A to point B, as far as if you're talking about two spots that are relatively close together where you encounter him, sometimes he does appear to kind of go away for a while and then suddenly change his mind and come back after you. But that could just be intentional pacing, maybe by the developers, so that you will hit other things in the ocean and ultimately give Jaws plenty of time to recharge his power meter, which it's a hell of a thing to ask of him when you're power level 9. He does not have good luck at this stage of the game.
Yet.
Yeah, but the only thing we've got to worry about here are these jellyfish, because they just kind of rise up from the ocean floor, and if you're too far close to it, obviously you will make contact with one of them, which will suck because it cost you the mini-sub. If you take the time to power up to level 9 by now, you're pretty well in your groove in the game, though. I mean, like, even if I haven't played this, you know, even after such a storied history with it throughout the course of my life, if I don't play it for a long time, you know, it does take a few minutes to kind of get back in the zone, so to speak. Yeah, just kind of hanging out down here, seeing what's popping. It's funny, I don't need the shells at all, but, you know, the natural gamer in me, I mean, I can't resist the urge to go after power-ups and items and things, so... Guess we'll wait here again. And we've got another shallow round. So, I'm trying to target these areas purposely, just so we can get the most challenge out of the game. And I want to do Mr. X proud here, so I have a definitive answer for him at the end of this video. I have toured around most of the corners of the map, or pretty much, I guess, the corners that you can reach that can actually be considered as such. And I'll probably cut that last bonus scene out as well, because again, it does get pretty repetitive. Gonna go one more round here in the shallow end. I've pretty much been all around the map. I've hit the corners, and also these kind of nook and cranny areas, if you will, kind of gauging the activity level and the challenge. And there's definitely more activity. Well, actually, there's not really so much that there's more activity than it is just really having less space to maneuver. When you're in the shallow end here late in the game, you're going to get all the enemy activity that you see in the deep end, but obviously you've got less than half the space to move around, so it does make you work a little bit harder. I suppose you could say it's more challenging, but for somebody like me who's been playing this game off and on for over 30 years, it's pretty well run-of-the-mill. And this is a pretty good place to go ahead and wrap it up, I think. So I'm going to raise him up and do the nasty.
Hey, get ahead of
Smile, you son of a bitch!
Well, Mr. X, I hope this answers your question. I appreciate the comment. Thank you for inspiring me to do this video. I can now answer the question, yes sir. I have ventured to the corners of the map and explored the zones that are a bit more dangerous than the path between the two harbors, and although my opinion of this game being super easy remains unchanged, I'm glad I took the time. This is always a fun game to revisit, and I appreciate anybody who took the time to watch. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.